My name is Chichi. I'm a cat. Right now, I live with the strongest and scariest military officer in this entire country, Duke Leonhart Mark. I'm a super tame, super ugly cat. My face is round like a ball. I've got squinty eyes, a permanently grumpy mouth, cow-like spots, short, stubby legs, and I'm chubby like a potato sack. Everyone in the mansion calls me the ugliest cat of the century, Chichi. But my real name is Mary. I was born as the daughter of a viscount in the kingdom of Edelweiss, Mary Dellaren. My life was changed by my younger stepsister, the one with the angelic face. I first met her on a snowy winter day when I was 5. I was so excited to meet her and my new stepmother. Dad was coming back home with them and they were going to live with us. At the time, that thought made me really happy. When I was just 1 year old, my father was assigned as a diplomat to the kingdom of Garnia, way up north, where it's always snowing. Because of the political instability, I stayed behind in Edelweiss. I was raised by my aunt after my mother died, giving birth to me. Later, Dad married a noblewoman from Garnia, and they had a daughter together, Emily. Finally, their carriage arrived. I saw Dad get off with a sweet-looking little girl in his arms. He called her Emily. I ran up to greet them with the biggest smile I had. But Emily turned away, clearly not impressed. My stepmother was kind to me, though. She told me stories about her homeland, and knowing I loved reading, she gave me tons of books. Life felt peaceful for a while. But that peace didn't last long. With Dad gone often for work, my stepmother grew lonely and homesick. Then one day, she just disappeared. No goodbye. Just gone. Emily was devastated. She cried every single day. My grandmother from Dad's side came to stay with us, but she clearly favored Emily over me. Everyone adored Emily. They supported her, comforted her, and cheered her on as she prayed every day for her mother's return. I was invisible in comparison. But I understood. She lost her mom. Of course, she was the one hurting most. Time passed, and our family's wounds slowly healed. Emily blossomed into a stunning young woman. Cheerful, sociable, always glowing. The complete opposite of me. I preferred quiet moments with tea and books, tucked away from the crowd. Eventually, I got engaged to Maxis, the 7th Prince of Edelweiss. He was kind, gentle, too good for me, really. I felt proud. Maybe for the first time in my life. But when I turned 18, Maxis came over and met Emily for the first time, and my heart felt something shift. After that, he stopped inviting me out. He kept showing up at the house when I wasn't around. And not long after I turned 19, the truth came out. They'd fallen in love behind my back. Emily begged me to step aside. "You don't suit him," she said, tears in her eyes. The same eyes that stole my fiancé. The next day, Maxis broke off our engagement and asked my father for permission to marry Emily. My father was furious, but with Grandma pushing for Emily, he eventually gave in. Rumors spread like wildfire. The heartbroken noble girl, dumped by her prince, betrayed by her own sister. But somehow I became the villain. People saw Emily and Maxis's love as pure and beautiful. No one wanted to hear the truth. No one believed I was the one who got hurt. My father apologized, but I already knew. I was never the right match for Maxis. He only needed my title. Now that Emily had him, the Dellaren name would pass to him anyway. Who would want to marry me now? I had nothing left to offer. More than anything. I was terrified of being abandoned again. So I said I wouldn't marry. Grandma disagreed and said it'd be strange for me to keep living in the same house after Emily and Maxis got married. And honestly, she was right. I couldn't live like that, watching them together every day. Dad tried introducing me to another noble bachelor, but I told him not to rush. Still, he seemed confident that he wouldn't make the same mistake twice. To clear my mind, I went to a tea house with my aunt, my greatest source of comfort. She encouraged me to attend parties, to distract myself, and deep down, I knew she was right. I couldn't go on like this. Something had to change. So I told her, I wanted to become a woman who could shine too. She was overjoyed. Then suddenly the mood shifted. Duke Leonhart Mark had arrived. He's a regular at the tea house. Odd, considering his bloodthirsty, ruthless reputation. The undefeated Duke, feared on the battlefield, but somehow right at home in a cozy tea house. It was unexpectedly endearing. The night of the grand soirée came. I'd waited for this moment, but of course, I dropped my glasses. They cracked. Standing alone in a crowded ballroom, people began whispering. Some even laughed. Others gossiped about my ex-fiancé choosing my sister over me. I couldn't take it. I left, needing somewhere quiet. I wandered aimlessly and stumbled into a room lined with bookshelves. A table was set with tea and sweets. On the other side, a map covered in war strategies. And notes. Unfinished notes. I peeked at one. The northern nations remain mysterious and worth invading. That shook me. It wasn't what I'd heard growing up. My father and stepmother always spoke of the North as poor, unstable, torn by civil war. Without thinking, I grabbed a pen and wrote a reply on the note. That's not true. The North is deeply impoverished and broken. Would any country ever truly love war? I stared at my handwriting. It was neat and elegant. Guess those calligraphy classes paid off. I felt a strange sense of pride, completely unaware that this small act would change my fate forever. The next evening, I went back to the grand soirée. This time it went a little better. I actually danced with a few people, even had some small talk with the other ladies. But honestly, it was draining. So I slipped away and returned to that quiet room from before. I wondered, had someone read the note I left? To my surprise, the note had been replaced. It read, "I'm very impressed by your beautiful handwriting. I hope your information is accurate." Was that a reply to me? The bottom of the paper had this awkward empty space, as if it was left there so I could respond. I reached into my pocket and placed a small candy, one my aunt had given me, onto the table. Then I scribbled a response. "Aren't you tired of eating nothing but chiffon cake? Please enjoy these candies instead." And just like that, I left the room. Something inside me hoped I'd meet the person behind the note. And to my delight, the secret correspondence continued the next day. And the next. He left me Florentine cookies as a reply. I started sharing my thoughts with him. How I felt out of place at the party, how I ended up discovering that room. I was growing curious. Who was he? What kind of person hides behind handwritten words? Then I noticed another page tucked behind the note. "I would like to meet you in person." My cheeks turned bright red. My heart skipped. I didn't even know who he was. But the idea of meeting him filled me with excitement. Still, a part of me worried. What if he saw me and felt disappointed? Even so, I wanted to meet him. He added another line. "I would be honored to dance with the young lady who claims she's not good at parties." Wait, how did he know I was a woman? I looked around nervously, but the room was empty. The last part of his message read, "Tomorrow I'll be wearing a crimson jacket with a silver horse brooch." Night 5 of the grand soirée arrived. For the first time, I couldn't wait. I stepped into the ballroom, my heart thudding with nerves and excitement. I couldn't calm down, couldn't focus. So I decided to grab some tea to settle myself. But just as I turned around, I bumped into someone. My tea spilled right onto their jacket. Flustered, I stammered apologies and reached out to clean the mess, only to realize it was Duke Leonhart Mark. I froze in horror. I was shaking. But Duke Mark, calm as ever, gently took my hand and told me not to worry about it. With that same calm voice, he asked, "Did I surprise you, standing behind you like that?" I shook my head quickly, apologized again, absolutely mortified. He said he would go change, and just before leaving, he added, "I'll be visiting your home soon." I was stunned. 3 days passed. I couldn't think straight. And I never got to meet the mysterious note writer again. Then, one morning, Father brought unexpected news. He had arranged a suitor for me, and the name he said nearly made my heart stop. Duke Leonhart Mark. Father explained everything. Duke Mark was in a difficult situation. He needed to marry someone soon, or else he'd be sent off to the Southern Islands, a place known for endless heat and dangerous illnesses. My thoughts spiraled. Why was my love story so different from Emily's beautiful fairy tale? But marrying the Duke would bring great honor to our family. I knew that. The negotiations moved fast. The Dellaren family began preparing for not just one, but 2 weddings, Emily's and mine. Emily looked radiant, glowing with joy. Meanwhile, I was marrying someone just to save him from being exiled. Yay, lucky me. As I walked through the hallway, I overheard the maids gossiping. They were whispering about me, about how ruthless the Duke was and how pathetic my situation must be. They said once he got what he wanted, he might just abandon me like everyone else had. I couldn't take it. I ran straight to my room and cried. Then suddenly, Emily barged in. With that cold glare of hers, she spat cruel words at me. Pathetic, embarrassing. You're such a boring eyesore, she sneered. Honestly, you're annoying just to look at. But of course, Emily didn't stop there. She kept mocking me, saying everything she had was the result of her own effort. I couldn't believe she was saying such things to me. And then, she leaned closer, lowering her voice. She said Father was under a spell, cast by her mother. That's why he was obsessed with her. She claimed her mother was a sorceress from an ancient kingdom. I stared at her, speechless. Sure, there were old stories, legends of a cruel emperor who built a magical empire through forbidden sorcery. But a hero from Edelweiss rose up, defeated him, and founded the Edelweiss kingdom. After that, magic was declared heresy. Anyone caught using it would be imprisoned. Emily continued, her voice rising. She said ever since her mother left Garnia and came to Edelweiss, she had grown weaker, physically and mentally. And with that, the magic she used to manipulate Father had begun to fade. Their relationship crumbled. That's why her mother wanted to return to Garnia and take Emily with her. I still couldn't believe what I was hearing. But then Emily looked me dead in the eye, smiling proudly. She said the power of that ancient emperor ran through her veins, that she was stronger than her mother, that she always got what she wanted because of that power. She said I lived an easy life, born into a wealthy country, raised by a rich aunt, engaged to a prince, while she had to fight for everything. That's why she took it all away, because it wasn't fair. Then, she said something I never considered. She said even though she took Maxis from me, she would still only become a viscountess, while I, marrying Duke Mark, would become a duchess. Honestly, I never cared about titles. In my heart, Emily still won. She had love, even if she stole it. But to Emily, I didn't deserve anything better than her. She said I never tried hard for anything. I tried to explain myself, but she didn't let me speak. Suddenly, she raised her hand with a wicked grin. She whispered, "Let me take your happiness away." A bright light burst from her palm. My body burned with unbearable heat. I screamed. Or, I tried to, but only a bizarre meow came out. When I opened my eyes, I was staring at a mirror. And staring back at me was a cat. A very, very ugly cat. Round face, squinty eyes, cow-like fur, chubby and stubby. It was me. Emily cackled. She said I would never marry Duke Mark now, that no one would ever want to care for such a hideous creature. Before she could catch me, I ran, or tried to. My legs were tiny, 4 of them. I wasn't used to this. No matter how far I ran, no one helped me. Every time I saw my reflection in a puddle or a window, it was true. I had really become a cat. 2 days passed. I was starving. I wandered the streets in the rain, crying out to strangers, begging for warmth. But no one stopped. Then I saw a familiar logo, the sign of my favorite tea house. Inez, the kind maid there. Surely she'd help me. But no matter how hard I scratched at the door, it didn't budge. Exhausted, I collapsed at the entrance. I gave up. That's when I heard a gentle voice. Someone was speaking softly to me, shielding me from the rain with an umbrella. He asked, "Are you okay, little one?" I was too weak to move. I could only meow faintly. My vision was blurry. He kept talking to me, asking if I had a home, if I was waiting for someone. Then he offered to take me with him. Of course I said yes. Well, in cat language. He picked me up. His arms were warm. So warm. My eyes grew heavy and I started drifting off. As I faded into sleep, an old tale floated through my mind. The story of the cruel emperor and the hero who discovered that magic couldn't affect crystals. He built a crystal knight order and defeated the emperor. That hero became Edelweiss's first king, the ancestor of Prince Maxis. Magic had been outlawed ever since. There shouldn't be any witches anymore. When I woke up, I was in a carriage. I heard that same gentle voice beside me asking if I was awake. I turned my head and nearly fainted. It was Duke Mark. He was holding me in both hands, smiling softly. He asked if I was hungry. I meowed enthusiastically. He laughed, saying I had a funny voice. With his kind eyes, he asked if I'd like to stay with him. Then he introduced himself to me. Of course I knew his name. Everyone did. The fearsome Duke Mark, the undefeated general. But what I didn't know was that he had such a gentle voice. Eventually, we arrived at his mansion, and I couldn't believe my eyes. It was massive. As we stepped into Duke Mark's mansion, the servants rushed over, asking if Lady Mary had been found. Apparently, they thought I had been kidnapped, or worse, caught in some sort of incident. But Duke Mark casually assumed I had simply run away, overwhelmed by his sudden marriage proposal. He even joked that maybe this would add a new nickname to his list. The Duke whose bride ran away. Oh, if only he knew. It wasn't like that at all. If anything, it was my current condition that dragged him into this mess. Suddenly, one of the maids asked what Duke Mark was carrying. I mean, it was obvious. I was a cat. But judging by their faces, maybe they'd never seen a cat this ugly before? Duke Mark explained briefly. He found me on the street and decided to take me in. From today on, he said, he'd be taking care of me. And then he gave me a bath. Yes, a bath. I mean, sure, I'm a cat now. But deep down, I'm still a girl. This was so embarrassing. But what could I do? I was a cat. Cats don't get to be modest. As Duke Mark gently washed me, a young boy walked in holding a towel. He offered to take over, but the Duke refused. He wanted to do it himself. Ugh, it was mortifying, but I couldn't lie. It felt amazing. So warm, so refreshing, so clean. I must have looked way too relaxed because I caught him watching me. Panicked, I froze, afraid he'd be mad. But he laughed. A soft, full-hearted laugh. His face lit up as he said I looked adorable. Then he dried me off gently and brought me to the fireplace to warm up. The boy from earlier sat beside me. He introduced himself as Timo, and he was full of stories about how amazing Duke Mark was. He said that when he grew up, he wanted to be just like him. Then Timo mentioned a new rumor spreading lately about a noble girl who ran away after being proposed to by Duke Mark. Wait, that's me. With a sad face, Timo said some people were laughing about it. That even the undefeated Duke was no match for a discarded woman. My heart sank. It wasn't Duke Mark's fault. It was mine. Because I became a cat, his reputation took the hit. Still, Timo reassured me. He said Duke Mark was a truly good man. Just then, Duke Mark returned with a bowl of warm milk. I couldn't wait to dive in. As I looked up at him, I noticed his flawless face, his long, flowing hair. He looked like a fairy king, but more importantly, that milk. Since he didn't know my name, he looked at me for a moment, thinking. Then he smiled and named me Chichi, after chiffon, his favorite cake. I approached the bowl and gave him a glance as if to ask, "May I?" The milk was heavenly, richer and smoother than anything I'd ever tasted. As I drank, Duke Mark and Timo watched me. They weren't teasing, but I still felt a little self-conscious. Was I really that ugly? When it was time for bed, I chose a cozy little spot to curl up. But then, with a soft voice, Duke Mark came over and told me he had prepared a bed for me. He gently picked me up. His arms were warm, safe. It made me realize I had never felt this kind of comfort before. Back home, I never had a place in anyone's arms. Had I ever really belonged in that house? He brought me to his bedroom. It was stunning. He placed me gently on a soft, warm couch. I thought to myself, I was supposed to be here as his bride, not as his cat. Still, this was better than dying on the street. He wished me goodnight with the softest voice. I fell asleep instantly. The next morning, I woke up feeling fresh and well-rested. That was the best sleep I'd had in ages. Duke Mark and Timo came into the room and greeted me cheerfully, inviting me to breakfast. Then Duke got ready to leave for the day. Before going, he told me to be a good girl and not scratch the furniture. I meowed innocently, of course. Timo and I walked him out to the carriage. As I returned inside, someone else entered. A man. Timo called him Mr. Elphias, Duke Mark's younger brother. He had just returned from staying over at his lover's place. He walked over to me, leaned in, and said, "What a weird cat." Rude. Also, he reeked of alcohol. Timo told him Duke Mark had decided to keep me. Elphias was surprised. He said it was strange for someone like Duke, always away at war, to take in a cat. Honestly, he was nothing like his older brother. Later, I sat by a large window, gazing out at the mansion's vast estate. My heart ached. What was happening to my family now? Was my father angry, thinking I'd run away? What about Emily? I didn't know then. I remembered her words, those cruel, sharp words that cut deep. Suddenly, something stirred inside me. A fire. A spark. I wanted to change. Enough sulking. All right. First step, explore this mansion from top to bottom, before Duke Mark returns. I began exploring the mansion, room by room, until I stumbled into a large library, its shelves lined with neatly arranged books. I imagined Duke Mark studying here diligently. All of his victories. Surely they were earned through years of hard work. The rumors never mentioned that part. There were always stories. That Duke Mark had 4 mistresses hidden in the mansion. That he had a torture chamber in the basement. In truth, the basement was just for storage. And the maids and butlers here were simply hardworking staff. All of it. Nonsense. As I wandered on, a delicious smell led me to the kitchen. The cooks immediately recognized me as Chichi, the Duke's cat. They gave me tasty treats. Oh, I am definitely coming back here more often. Then, as I was heading out, I overheard voices. It was Elphias, with a beautiful woman. Wait, that's the opera diva. So they're lovers? But hold on. Didn't Elphias just return this morning from his other lover's house? Wow, this man is truly a playboy. Oh no, I think they spotted me. Elphias walked over, eyes narrowing. He asked if I planned to rat him out to Duke Mark. Then he told me to stop spying and go play with Timo instead. I meowed at him and turned around with as much sass as my stubby legs could give me. But then he paused, surprised by my reaction. Had I been too obvious? Panic set in. But thankfully, the opera diva tugged his arm and led him away. Phew, that was close. As I wandered aimlessly, a thought crept in. What if those mistress rumors weren't about Duke Mark, but about all the women Elphias brought in? Just then, I ended up near the training grounds. Something felt off. Then I heard it. Barking. Loud. Fast. Dangerous. I turned and saw the dogs charging at me, eyes locked, teeth bared. I ran for my life, my tiny legs moving as fast as they could. By some miracle, I scrambled up a tower and hid by a window ledge. The guards eventually came, calling off the dogs. They told me to come down. But I couldn't move. My legs were frozen, and now that the adrenaline was fading, I realized my tail was injured. It hurt. Badly. Everything started to blur. I think I fainted. That night, I woke up in something soft and warm. A familiar voice whispered gently, "Did I wake you?" It was Duke Mark. He stroked my fur tenderly and looked at me with soft eyes. "Are you trying to run away too?" He chuckled lightly, almost like he was joking, but I could hear the pain in his voice. No, that wasn't it at all. To lighten the mood, I tried acting cute. I fluffed up, rolled over, curled my tail, doing everything I could to look like an adorable little furball. Though, I probably still looked weird. He stared at me intensely. Did I annoy him? Wait. His cheeks flushed. "You're too cute," he murmured. "Seeing you like this makes all the stress of work disappear." Then came a voice from behind. It was one of his closest aides. With a stern tone, he said, Duke shouldn't get too distracted. He reminded him that he had more urgent matters to deal with, like choosing a wife. Duke Mark sighed, saying he already had someone in mind. But she ran away. Me. He was talking about me. I couldn't help it. I meowed loudly. I didn't run away. The aide scoffed, saying Duke should just find someone new. He called me a selfish woman, implying I didn't deserve Duke. But Duke defended me. "She did nothing wrong," he said. "Don't call her that." My heart felt warm. Even though I was just a cat in his arms, he still protected my name. But the aide kept pressing. Duke needed a wife soon, for the family's future. Duke replied, if he couldn't find me, then he'd consider the aide's suggestions. Once we were alone, Duke looked tired. He suddenly buried his face into my fur. I froze. Then, softly, he said, "I'll take you out for a walk sometime." He kissed my forehead, and in that warmth, I drifted into the sweetest sleep. Deep down, I wanted to know more about the real Duke Mark. The next day, Timo carries me to Duke Mark's study. I trot over, and Duke Mark lifts me with both hands, smiling softly. "Today," he says, "I'm taking you to the capital, just like I promised yesterday." He places me gently on his lap, his hand stroking my fur as he enjoys its warmth. My heart races. If I still had a human face, it'd be bright red by now. Soon we set off, riding a carriage toward the capital. Timo's with us, of course, and he's brought a little feather toy for me. Honestly, I think it's silly. I'm a person, not a house cat. But somehow I get caught up in it. Before I know it, I'm chasing that stupid feather like a real cat. Duke Mark and Timo both laugh as they watch me play. Ugh. Well, I guess it can't be helped. When we arrive in the capital, Duke Mark picks me up in his arms and starts walking. People around us immediately take notice. Some even look intimidated. I mean, sure, he's a famous general, but come on. He's carrying a cat. That's the best combo ever. Then again, I used to feel the same way. I was afraid of him too, just because of the rumors. I glance up at him, determined to cheer him up somehow. He catches my gaze and smiles. To him, I probably just look adorable. Not like I'm trying to comfort him. At least he doesn't seem to care about the stares from others. We pass by our favorite tea house, the one where Inez works. Duke Mark looks down at me, a little regret in his eyes. "Too bad," he murmurs. "You can't enter any tea houses now." Well, yeah, not with paws. We keep walking, stopping in front of a watch shop. Duke hands me over to Timo. "I'll just be a moment. he says as he steps inside. Timo and I stroll around a bit, not too far from the shop. As we walk, I suddenly hear something. A voice. Familiar. So familiar. It's Auntie. I freeze for a second, then bolt toward the sound without thinking. I find her. She's talking to Maxis. No, arguing with him. She looks furious. She's blaming him for my disappearance. She's shouting about Emily, saying she's the reason I vanished. Maxis looks heartbroken. His usually tidy hair is a mess. Is he actually worried about me? But then I hear it. He's only upset because Auntie keeps blaming Emily. He begs her not to speak ill of her. Of course. Even now, he still defends her. He doesn't know she turned me into a cat. No one does. Auntie starts crying, saying how sorry she is. Maxis keeps apologizing too, forever falling for Emily. Auntie's anger flares again. She tells him to stop comparing me to her. She's defending me, still protecting me, always searching for me. Auntie, I'm right here. I want to run into her arms so badly. But what if she doesn't believe me? What if she faints? What do? I can't hold it in anymore. I run straight toward them and let out the loudest meow I can. Maxis flinches, then frowns. What an ugly cat, he mutters. Gee, thanks. But then, a voice behind me. Calm, deep, familiar. Duke Mark picks me up and says to Maxis, "Is there something wrong with my cat?" He stares at Maxis. Cold, sharp, regal. Maxis goes pale. Maxis appears flustered the moment he realizes the cat in front of him belongs to Duke Mark. The Duke steps forward calmly, his sharp gaze heavy and unforgiving. Maxis tries to backpedal, but under the pressure of Duke Mark's stare, he falters. It's the first time I see him look so lost. When Duke turns to greet my aunt, she immediately apologizes for having lost me at such a critical moment. But instead of offering support, Maxis takes the opportunity to insult me, calling me reckless and disrespectful. My aunt defends me right away, criticizing both Maxis and Emily for their betrayal and suggesting that perhaps I haven't even recovered from the shock yet. Duke Mark then asks Maxis what he's doing here. Maxis mutters something about searching for me as well, but Duke doesn't acknowledge it. He instead assures my aunt that he will continue looking for me himself. She seems moved by his words and offers a heartfelt thank you before climbing into her carriage. Just before Maxis follows, Duke Mark asks him a quiet, unexpected question. Whether he had ever, even once, truly felt something for me. His voice softens near the end. He doesn't finish his thought. There's a faint blush on his face and a flicker of sadness in his eyes. And I find myself wondering what he was trying to say. Maxis doesn't answer. He simply says he hopes I'm found soon. But his ocean blue eyes, once so captivating, have never truly looked at me with real meaning. Later that day, Duke Mark visits every tea house in the capital, one by one, searching for the missing Lady Mary. Back in the carriage on the way home, I sit in silence, watching him. His expression is thoughtful, burdened. I want to apologize. I want to tell him I never meant for things to be like this. But deep inside, I don't understand. Why would someone like him go so far? For me? The next morning, the mansion is bustling with unusual energy. Everyone is moving faster, preparing for an important guest. Timo finds me with his usual big grin. He tells me that Princess Amelia, the king's first daughter, is visiting today. She is known across the kingdom for her accomplishments in literature and swordsmanship, and is widely seen as the king's greatest hope. She has a different mother than Maxis, and I've only met her once before. Before leaving, Timo leans down and whispers into my ear. He says he thinks Duke Mark and the princess would make the perfect couple, especially since they were childhood friends. I don't know why, but my chest feels tight. While I'm lounging, Elphias suddenly appears. He greets me casually and says he brought me a gift. A toy mouse in a basket. Not exactly something I appreciate. He lifts me up and reminds me not to behave rudely toward the princess. Then he shares a bit of his childhood, recalling the days when he trained in swordsmanship at the palace. Out of all the gifted children, he says, only Amelia and Duke Mark truly stood out. But Amelia, it seems, never paid attention to Alpheus the way he had hoped. Judging by my expression, he probably senses I'm unimpressed. He starts watching me more closely, noting how I always seem to be eavesdropping on conversations around the mansion. Then comes the question, am I really just a cat? Behind that playful demeanor, his instincts as a knight are sharp. Would he believe me if I told him the truth? Would he even help me? Before I can ponder it further, he places me in the basket he brought, then casually states that he'll toss me into the river. Panic fills me. I meow in protest, loud and desperate. But instead of laughing, he stares at me with narrowed eyes, saying I'm definitely not normal. He tells me to be quiet and begins walking. To my surprise, he brings me to where Duke Mark and Princess Amelia are speaking. They're discussing a porcelain tea set, something Duke is gifting her from his own collection. I feel a sting of envy. I want something like that too. But I'm just a cat. Their conversation shifts to the royal knights who are secretly searching for me. Mary. Then comes the topic of my stepmother's disappearance. Duke brings it up carefully, and Amelia responds thoughtfully. She says she wasn't commander back then, so she doesn't know the details. But it's possible the disappearance was tied to the fact that my stepmother was from Garnia. She explains that since the founding of Edelweiss, many sorcerers and their descendants fled to the northern lands. When strange things happen in places connected to Garnia, the knights are instructed to investigate. Quietly. Duke wonders aloud if the strange disappearances around the Dellaren household are related to sorcery. Amelia isn't sure. The matter is still under investigation. Then Alpheus knocks. He enters, opens the basket, and lifts me out. With a glint of curiosity in his eye, he presents me to the princess. He says there's something he wants to show her. Duke Mark picks me up and asks Alpheus why he brought me here. Alpheus, with that sharp look in his eyes, turns to Princess Amelia and asks what she thinks of me. Her expression instantly changes. She looks shocked when she sees me, then asks about me. Duke Mark explains where he found me and what condition I was in, telling everything honestly. Princess Amelia says she senses something strange about me. She adds that it might even be dangerous. Hearing that, I'm totally stunned. What should I do now? But Duke Mark's reaction is completely unexpected. He jokes that I am extremely dangerous. So dangerous that I've taken him hostage, because I'm way too cute and precious to him. My cheeks heat up right away. I try to hide my face with my paws and meow. This is so embarrassing. But Princess Amelia seems surprised by my voice. She says it sounds like a young lady's. Duke Mark thinks she's complimenting me, and he keeps going. He says I'm so friendly that no one would believe I was ever astray. Then he complains, saying, His Highness the Unfaithful once called me an ugly cat. Princess Amelia turns to me and asks, Who's this unfaithful highness? Of course, I meow loudly. It's the guy tricked by my stepsister, the 7th prince. Duke Mark looks awkward, but adds that it wouldn't be proper to name him directly. He just says it's about Lady Mary's ex-fiancé. Then suddenly, Princess Amelia asks for permission to borrow me for tomorrow. She promises to treat me kindly and return me before nightfall. Duke Mark immediately asks her why. She explains that she senses something strange in me, something not quite cat-like. She wants to investigate further at the Crystal Knights headquarters. She says maybe I know something about what happened at the Dellaren estate. She reaches her arms out to carry me, but Duke Mark still looks unsure. He says he doesn't mean to doubt her. She's the leader of the Crystal Knights after all. Then, he hugs me. Gently, warmly. Does he really treasure me that much? Enough that he doesn't want to hand me over, even to Princess Amelia? In his arms, I feel moved. I meow softly, telling him I love him. Then, I jump into Princess Amelia's hands without hesitation. Duke Mark gasps, eyes wide. Princess Amelia catches me and looks at me kindly. She asks if I'd come with her to the royal capital tomorrow. I meow in reply, yes. The next day, Princess Amelia and I ride a carriage to the Crystal Night Space. While we're on the way, I ask her if she understands me. She answers, saying she believes I might be Lady Mary from the Dellaren family. I'm in awe. She's so sharp. It's amazing. When we arrive, we get out and walk in. She asks me if I know the legend of the ancient emperor and the Crystal Knights. Of course I do. I meow. She tells me it's not just a fairy tale. It's real. The Crystal Knights didn't stop with the emperor's fall. They've been searching for the emperor's daughter's descendant, who supposedly carries a cursed seal passed down through her bloodline. Even after all these centuries, the knights continue their mission to find the seal and bury the curse forever. She asks if I know anything about the seal. I think hard. I honestly don't know much about Emily's stuff. I've never seen any kind of seal. I shake my head. No. We enter the Crystal Knights' headquarters, which is actually a grand temple. As we walk, I admire the beauty of the place. We meet 2 knights under her command. I notice their swords. Could those really be made of crystal? Princess Amelia asks them what they sense about me. The knights hold their swords. They close their eyes and their swords faintly vibrate. They say they're sure I'm cursed. I immediately meow loudly, telling them it's my younger sister's fault. But they don't understand me. Only Princess Amelia can hear my voice. One of the knights shares that 6 years ago, something similar happened at the Dellaren estate. When they were investigating my missing stepmother, their swords reacted the same way. At the time, they didn't understand what it meant, but now, it doesn't seem like a coincidence. They ask if they should take me there right away. But Princess Amelia says no. A cat can't testify, and they can't get a confession without proof. She decides to wait until they find stronger evidence. She tells me the curse won't last forever. If I use a magic crystal at the right time, I can break it. She explains the reason she can hear me now is because the curse has started to weaken. Oh, right. There's a crystal at Duke Mark's mansion, the crystal chess set. I always sleep near it. Then, one of the knights gives Princess Amelia a necklace with a crystal pendant purified with sacred water from the temple. Princess Amelia says it can help lift the curse. If I use it at the right moment, it'll work. She looks at me gently and asks, "What do you want to do?" I'm confused. Isn't it obvious? I want to go back to being Mary, right? But I don't want to return to being the same sad, boring Mary. Even though I'm a cat now, I'm surrounded by people who care about me. Suddenly, her eyes turn sharp. "You're not thinking of staying a cat, are you?" She says I love Duke Mark. I flinch. I get flustered and try to deny it. But she reminds me. I said it myself when he held me. Wait. I really said that? As she gently puts the necklace around my neck, Princess Amelia tells me that it's easy to cast spells on weak minds. That's why she wants me to never believe being a cat is better. That doubt would make it harder to break the curse. She tells me to use the crystal only when I truly want to become human again. Before night falls, I return to Duke Mark's home. I see him just getting back too. When he spots me, he rushes over and lifts me up high with a big, warm smile. "Did you forget me already?" he says. Then he hugs me tightly. Duke Mark always treats me so kindly. I have to return to being human. But do I really have the courage to let go of these warm hands? At night, I find Duke Mark sitting in his study with a glass of wine in hand, clearly trying to calm his thoughts. He's not alone. His most trusted man stands nearby, quietly keeping him company. Timo and I step into the room. He's carrying Duke Mark's favorite chiffon cake, hoping it might lift his mood. But Duke Mark is already tipsy, and instead of focusing on the cake, he ends up scooping me into his arms. Without warning, he shares that the king has asked him to become a general stationed on the southern island. He says he's against it, especially now that he's just getting his porcelain business off the ground. He doesn't want to go, but at the moment, he has no real excuse to say no. The only way out would be if he got married, but he refuses to marry just anyone. He says it wouldn't be fair to the woman, being chosen only to escape a duty he doesn't want. Hearing this, I press my head against his chest. I want to tell him not to leave. I meow and meow, desperately trying to make him understand how much I don't want to lose him. But, as always, he doesn't understand. His aide asks if there's been any progress in finding Lady Mary. Duke Mark says it feels like magic, how I vanished without a trace. He pulls a small candy wrapper from his pocket and says it's the only connection he has left to me. That candy, the bonbon, I gave it to someone at the party. Only one person. My heart skips a beat. I can't believe what I'm hearing. He talks about seeing me at the tea house too, how he used to watch me from afar, not knowing who I was. He says he couldn't take his eyes off me, just watching how happy I looked while sipping my tea. I had no idea he noticed me at all. Then he mentions seeing me with Maxis, how sad it made him feel. But when the rumors came that our engagement was broken off, he admits he felt a sense of relief and guilt for feeling that way, because he couldn't stand the idea of me being with someone else. And then he confesses. That's when he knew. He had fallen for me. I listen, frozen. Is he really saying all this about me? He shares how overjoyed he felt when my father, Viscount Dellaren, offered a marriage proposal. He accepted right away, thinking it was fate. He didn't expect to see me again so soon, especially not at the grand soirée. He remembers leaving a note in the parlor and later seeing someone had replied to it in beautiful handwriting. The next day, he learns that person was me. But knowing I was afraid of him, he hid instead of saying anything. And now, it all makes sense. The horse brooch, the red cloak. I remember that day. I was panicking so much I didn't even realize. The man I had longed to meet was Duke Mark all along. He says he's wanted to talk to me properly for so long. When my father suggested the arranged marriage, he was genuinely happy. But he never expected I'd run away once I found out. The way his face looks now, like his heart is shattered, hurts to see. If only I'd known back then how he truly felt. Maybe we could have had a future together. He gets up and admits he was too confident. That maybe I hated him so much, I disappeared. I try to tell him that's not true. I meow and meow, my voice full of sorrow, but he still can't understand. Then he makes a decision. He's going to accept the king's request and leave for the southern island tomorrow. My heart sinks. I want to stop him. I want him to know how Mary really feels. I want to be his strength, to stand beside his dreams. That's when I remember something strange. Emily's pet bird used to always call out my stepmother's name, even after she vanished. That bird died after its cage mysteriously fell from the balcony. As I walk back to my room, my mind is full of thoughts. What if the bird was my stepmother? What if she died as a bird, and that's why no one could find her? I need to tell Princess Amelia. These thoughts are too much. My chest tightens. Maybe what I've truly feared all along is going back home, to a place that never felt like home. I don't want to lose this warmth. This house. This person. The first place I've ever felt truly loved. I grip the crystal pendant Princess Amelia gave me. My heart screams out that I am Mary, a human, and I won't let anyone take that from me. As I stare at the gem that's come loose from the chain, something clicks in my soul. When I become human again, there are so many things I have to do. I try to swallow the pendant, but it's too big. It won't go down. I even try biting it, but it's too hard. Still, I have to change back. I have to. For him. I try again. And again. Then, everything goes dark. I start to wake up slowly. That crystal I tried to swallow earlier must have knocked me out. My head feels heavy and everything is still a bit hazy. Suddenly, Duke Mark walks into the room and sees me. But then I notice his expression. He looks completely shocked. What's with that look? Is he just now realizing how ugly the cat he took home really is? Ugh, the way he's staring, it's honestly so embarrassing. But then, panic flashes across his face. He tells me not to move, urgently. He grabs a blanket, quickly wraps me up, and scoops me into his arms. I'm so confused. Why is he acting like this? He carries me carefully and mutters something about not resisting, for both our dignity. What does that even mean? What is he seeing? I meow, trying to ask, but his eyes flicker with uncertainty. He stares at me with both hands holding me close, whispering my name. Chichi. He starts wondering out loud if it's just the alcohol messing with his head. Is he hallucinating? Still holding me, Duke Mark walks us into a grand bedroom and gently places me on the massive, elegant bed. He tells me to stay here tonight. As he rubs his forehead, he mutters something about hallucinations and needing rest, clearly blaming the wine. The next morning, Timo wakes me up. I'm still trying to figure out why Duke Mark suddenly gave me this luxurious room. Then it hits me. The crystal pendant. But before I can look for it, Timo walks in holding the necklace and gently puts it back around my neck, saying I should take good care of it. It's a gift from Princess Amelia. I'm so relieved. Thank you, Timo. We head to Duke Mark's chamber where he's getting dressed to meet the king. When I see him, I freeze. He's wearing formal attire, richer and more refined than usual. He looks stunning, absolutely breathtaking. Timo asks if he really can't refuse the king's request, but Duke Mark just quietly apologizes. My heart clenches. I can't let him go to the southern island. I rush forward and bite the hem of his trousers, trying to stop him from leaving. He crouches down, gently touches my face, and promises to return soon. But as I watch him walk toward the door, I feel it deep inside. I don't want to be apart from him. Not like this. One more time, I take off the crystal necklace. I think of all the kindness he's shown me, all the warmth. I want him to know how I truly feel. I want to tell him that I didn't fall in love with the rumors, but with him. The real him. I love him with all my heart. With that resolve burning inside me, I bite down on the pendant and force myself to swallow it. Pain shoots through me as I fall and slam into the side table. The sound of my fall grabs their attention. Duke Mark and Timo both freeze. They rush back toward me in a panic. Duke Mark quickly tells Timo to get the doctor. My vision blurs, my throat burns. It hurts so badly. Duke Mark lifts me into his arms, calling my name. My body feels hot, like I'm being pulled into something else, something beyond the physical. And then, it happens. He falls to his knees, still holding me. I can feel everything. The weight of my hair, the shape of my fingers. I look down. Hands, human hands. Am I back? Duke Mark's stunned face is so close to mine. His lips part as he speaks a name I haven't heard in so long. Lady Mary. Suddenly I realize I'm not wearing anything. I let out a scream and dive behind the curtain, my heart pounding. Duke Mark is still frozen, staring at me like he's seen a ghost. Then Timo bursts in with a doctor, asking about Chichi. His eyes land on me, hidden awkwardly behind the curtain, and he blurts out the obvious. Who is the naked woman? Duke Mark quickly tells him not to worry and gently asks Timo to bring me some women's clothing. Immediately. He tries to convince himself that this isn't just another illusion, so it really happened last night. I must have briefly transformed back into Mary, and now it's finally clear. Still hiding behind the curtain, I introduce myself. I explain everything. My sister Emily cursed me, turning me into a cat. Duke Mark covers his face with one hand, clearly still trying to process it all. Just moments ago, Chichi was in his arms. And now, I stand here. I go on. I tell him about the curse's origin, how it ties back to my stepmother's ancestors, descendants of the cursed emperor. I explain how Princess Amelia gave me the crystal pendant that helped break it. Duke Mark is speechless. He never imagined that the Mary he's been searching for was right here all along, as Chichi. I apologize for everything, for making him search so desperately. I tell him I couldn't explain. Only Princess Amelia could understand me when I was in cat form. Duke Mark, cheeks burning, mutters that he never imagined something like this was possible, especially after everything. The cuddling, the baths, the kisses. I remember it all too, and reassure him not to worry. He didn't know. Back then, to him, I was just a cat. Then, nervously, I admit that I didn't hate it. My face burns red before I can say more. Before the silence deepens, Timo's voice returns behind the door. He's brought the clothes. As Duke Mark walks toward the door, I suddenly cry out. I beg him not to go to the royal palace, not to leave. I tell him I don't want him to go to the southern island. He stops. He thanks me softly, saying he wishes that could be his reason too. But I can't stop here. I've come this far. I have to be brave. If I let this moment pass, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. I call out to him one last time, and with every ounce of courage in my heart, I ask him to marry me. Hearing my sudden proposal, Duke Mark freezes mid-step. He slowly turns around, eyes wide in disbelief. He walks toward me, his expression unreadable, and asks what I just said. I repeat myself, clearly this time, asking him to marry me. Not just for love, but to uncover the truth behind the dark magic with Princess Amelia, and to use our marriage as a reason to reject the king's request. He stares at me intently, then asks if I'm not afraid of him. He says he remembers seeing me at the tea house, always watching him from a distance with discomfort in my eyes. I lower my gaze. It's true. I was afraid of him back then, but only because I didn't know him. He adds that if I'm just trying to repay his kindness as Chichi, I don't have to go this far. That stings. Without thinking, I step forward and wrap my arms around him. I tell him this isn't repayment. These are my feelings. Mary's and Chichi's. They are the same. They are mine. I tell him that the Duke Mark I know now is someone kind, gentle, not frightening at all. I know that because I've lived with him, watched him care, listened to his thoughts. He's not a man to be feared. He falls quiet, eyes softening. Then he thanks me in a voice barely above a breath. Looking flustered, he quickly steps back and tells me, nervously, that I should get dressed first. Oh God. My face turns bright red. What did I just do? For now, my true identity is kept secret until the Crystal Knights complete their investigation. The staff at Duke Mark's estate are briefly rattled by the sudden disappearance of Chichi and the appearance of a mysterious woman, but they calm down quickly. Their trust in Duke Mark is absolute. Only Duke Mark and Alpheus know that I'm actually Mary. I stay quietly in the mansion, giving testimony to the knights whenever needed. We can't raid the Dellaren estate yet. Not without solid proof. I can't even tell my aunt I'm safe. It hurts, but for now, I must keep my distance to avoid suspicion. We need to focus on one thing: proving Emily is a witch. One bright morning, Duke Mark takes me to his porcelain workshop. He says it's safer than going anywhere public. I'm thrilled. I've been wanting to see it. We walk through rows of shelves filled with delicate, beautiful teacups. My heart feels light. He explains that they don't just make tableware. They craft ornamental pieces too. That gives me an idea. I suggest he make a figurine of Chichi. But Duke Mark frowns. He clearly dislikes the thought. He says he doesn't like the idea of other people owning his Chichi, even as decoration. My cheeks instantly flush. So, he really is the possessive type, huh? As we step outside, I thank him for the tour. With all my heart, I tell him that someday, people will say the best teacups for afternoon tea come from this very workshop. Something in my words must have touched him, because before I can say more, he pulls me into his arms. Tight, warm, full of love. He whispers that to him, the best tea will always be the one shared with me. I melt a little inside. I want to stay by his side too, but I can't let myself get lost in this comfort. Not yet. It's time to face my family. I gently pull away from his embrace, and with a steady voice, I ask for his help. I tell him I plan to sneak into the Dellaren estate and find the magical seal that Emily is hiding. A few days later, I set out with Elphias and Duke Mark. Elphias, as a crystal knight, enters with me. Duke Mark waits outside, visibly anxious. He gives me 1 hour. If I don't return by then, he'll come in with full force. Elphias and I make it past the first garden gate and into the manor. Emily is out with Prince Maxis today, watching a play. It's our perfect chance. We slip into Emily's room and begin searching. But I don't even know what the seal looks like. I fumble around, unsure, until Elphias' crystal sword starts to react. It points us toward the bookshelf. He digs through it until he finds a book that feels oddly light. Inside, there's a hidden compartment. And inside that, a ring. The sword reacts again. This is it, the seal. But just as we're about to leave, a servant bursts in and demands to know who we are and what we're doing. The servant blows the emergency whistle, the sound shrill and sharp. I flinch, panic surging through me. I shout for her to stop and cry out that I'm Mary. But she doesn't believe me. Her eyes narrow, and she says I don't even wear glasses. Right. I haven't worn them since returning to my human form. My vision's gotten better somehow. Maybe part of breaking the curse. The commotion brings more servants running, and then my father. His eyes widen as he sees me, completely unprepared for my sudden return. Shock floods his face. I bow quickly and apologize for disappearing. His concern quickly shifts into frustration, scolding me with a trembling voice. He demands to know where I've been, and why I suddenly show up with a knight. Elphias, Duke Mark's younger brother. I waste no time explaining. I tell him I've been living at Duke Mark's estate, that he's been protecting me all this time. Then I turn to a servant I recognize, the one who buried Emily's pet bird. I ask him to dig up that exact spot. That's where my stepmother is. The moment those words leave my mouth, Father's face darkens. He tells me to stop making things up, but I don't back down. With a firm voice, I tell him, Emily is a witch. Elphias steps in beside me, pulling out the magical seal, the ring we found earlier. As a crystal knight, he confirms they've been searching for this cursed object for years, and now it's been found. In Emily's room, hidden in her bookshelf. I glance at Father. His eyes widen in disbelief, completely speechless. Then I reveal more. How both Emily and my stepmother are witches. How they use their magic and potions to manipulate him. He still looks unconvinced, until the servant I sent earlier rushes back, breathless and pale. He stammers. There are human bones buried in the bird's grave. The truth slams into Father like a storm. He drops to his knees, overwhelmed, unable to speak. The weight of everything we've just revealed crushes his composure. And then, boom. A deafening blast echoes through the estate. I run to the window, heart pounding. Outside, Duke Mark stands tall, his troops and cannons aimed directly at the Dellaren mansion. Elphias calmly reminds us, our 1 hour is up. Peaceful negotiation time is over. Father panics, begging Elphias to call off the attack. I quickly turn to him, pleading. I ask him not to side with Emily anymore. I beg him to help me expose the truth. I know he's torn, but I need him to stand with me. I ask him to confirm that the seal belongs to Emily. After a long pause, he nods. With relief flooding through me, I give the signal to Duke Mark. The cannons halt. Duke Mark rushes into the manor with a sheet of paper in his hand. It's a marriage agreement. He hands it to my father, asking him to sign. I blink. Seriously? Right now? It feels like he's offering tea in the middle of a war. Father looks at him, stunned, Then he turns to me and asks if this is what I want. He won't sign unless I say yes. His voice softens as he admits something I never thought I'd hear. He regrets always putting Emily first. For the first time in my life, I see his eyes truly filled with guilt. I step beside Duke Mark and gently take his hand. I tell my father with a clear voice that, yes, I want to marry him. This is my choice. Father breathes out a heavy sigh and signs the paper. He hands it back to Duke Mark. Outside, Emily and Prince Maxis arrive in their carriage, only to be greeted by rows of cannons still surrounding the estate. They look furious, confused. They demand answers. Duke Mark's soldiers inform them. This is all under Duke Mark's orders. Maxis goes pale. We step outside. Me, Duke Mark, Elphias, and Father. Emily greets me with her usual fake smile. Maxis stares, stunned, like he's seen a ghost. Before anyone can speak further, Elphias draws his sword and points it directly at Emily. He declares in the name of the Crystal Knights that she is to be taken into custody. Emily's smile drops. Maxis stiffens. And the truth, at long last, stands exposed in the sunlight. Prince Maxis immediately steps forward to defend Emily. Even after I show him the magical seal, he brushes it off like it's nothing. Emily looks completely stunned, her voice trembling as she insists it's all a lie. She declares she's meant to be queen. This can't be happening to her. Duke Mark steps in without hesitation. He raises a brow and calmly asks if Emily plans to turn Maxis's 6 older brothers into birds too. The words hit like a slap. My father turns toward Emily, his voice hesitant. He asks her directly, "Did she really turn his wife into a bird?" Emily panics. She tries to deny it, scrambling for excuses. But I cut in, firm and unshaken. I tell her we all know the truth by now. And none of us can understand how she could kill her own mother like that. She snaps, screaming that it was an accident, that the birdcage fell and it wasn't her fault. Then, right in the middle of the chaos, Princess Amelia arrives. She walks in like a storm, holding undeniable proof. A confiscated package sent to Emily from Garnia. Inside it, an ancient book, a forbidden one, soaked in dark magic. Everything around us falls silent. But then Emily lunges toward her, furious, accusing Amelia of stealing her kingdom, her power. She screams for her book back, her kingdom back. Before she can get close, Elphias grabs her arm and restrains her. Even in that moment, Emily keeps shouting, accusing me of stealing the seal, blaming me for everything that's happened. I stand tall, my voice calm. I tell her she's wrong. The only thief here is Emily. Princess Amelia looks at Maxis in disbelief. How could her own brother be fooled by a witch? Especially when he's a descendant of the very people who once destroyed dark magic. She warns him that he might be punished too. Maxis freezes. He panics. Then, he turns to me. He begs me to save him. Says he loves me. Says he'll marry me. I pause. Just for a second. Then Duke Mark steps forward, standing between us like a wall. He tells Maxis to stop, but Maxis doesn't listen. He insists that I must love him back. He's convinced. Holding Duke Mark's hand, I turn to Maxis and say the truth. The one I love is Duke Mark. That's all it takes. Princess Amelia, calm and collected, declares Emily under arrest. The charges, smuggling forbidden magical texts and using sorcery. Twice. I watch as Emily, defeated and drained, is led into the carriage. Her head hangs low. For once, she says nothing. My father quietly weeps. After that day, everything changes. My father is stripped of his role as a royal diplomat for harboring a witch. Part of our estate is seized. I send word to my aunt to let her know I'm safe, and she rushes to the estate, trying to finalize my adoption. But in the end, I decline. I choose not to become her adopted daughter. Not because I don't love her, but because I want to protect this land and this family myself. Time moves quickly after that. Duke Mark and I are both busy. His duties, my testimony, the aftermath of everything. Our moments together are rare and precious, but there's good news. Duke Mark isn't sent to the Southern Island, partly because of our engagement, yes, but mostly because of his critical role in the discovery of the seal. Today, we finally have time to meet. He surprises me with a gift, a large, elegant box. When I open it, I gasp. My eyes sparkle. Inside is a tea set, the most beautiful one I've ever seen, crafted just for me. Tears sting my eyes as I thank him for such a thoughtful gift. He gently takes my hand. His voice is soft, warm. He says he wants to spend every tea moment with me, that the way I look when I sip my tea is the most beautiful thing in the world. My face instantly turns red, but then a worry creeps in. I ask him, am I really okay for him? I'm from a disgraced family now, a family that gave birth to a witch. Won't that stain his name? He touches my cheek, his hand so kind. He tells me he's not marrying for honor. He's marrying me. I blink, heart aching from how sincere he is. Then he asks, don't I regret choosing him? Even with all the ugly rumors that followed him, like the one about him having a mistress? I smile, holding his hand tighter. Because I know better than anyone. Those rumors aren't true. Duke Mark is the most genuine man I've ever known. And he's the only one I'll ever choose. The new year arrives, and Duke Mark and I attend the Royal Palace's grand New Year's celebration. The hall is glowing with golden lights, filled with laughter and music. We join the dance, and as he twirls me gently, I can't help but smile. I tell him how happy I am to be human again, because there's no way I could ever dance with him like this if I were still a cat. He chuckles softly and admits he misses Chichi. I look into his eyes, warmth blooming in my chest. I tell him Chichi is still here, always by his side. As we move with the rhythm, he pulls me just a little closer, his hand slipping around my waist. My cheeks burn. It's way too close. I can feel the heat rising to my ears. Then, out of nowhere, he asks me if I've ever kissed Prince Maxis. My steps falter for a second. He goes on, saying he might have looked calm back then, but in truth, he was drowning in jealousy and worry. My face goes crimson. In a small, trembling voice, I admit the truth. I've never had my first kiss. Not even once. He exhales softly, then wraps me in his arms. His embrace is warm and full of quiet relief. He tells me that's the best thing he's heard all night. During the break between dances, we run into Princess Amelia. She greets us with that graceful aura of hers and tells us Prince Maxis has been sent to a monastery by order of the king. She then turns to me, her gaze kind and proud. She says I've changed, not just in appearance, but in spirit. There's dignity in how I carry myself now. She says, it's beautiful. Before walking away, she wishes us everlasting happiness. Later that evening, we head home in Duke Mark's carriage. The gentle clatter of hooves and lanterns glowing outside the window make the moment feel so intimate. Duke Mark teases me, saying he wishes he could bury his face in Chichi's cheeks again. I pout, flustered. I remind him that I'm not Chichi anymore. My cheeks probably aren't as soft. He smiles and reaches out, brushing his fingers under my chin, just like he used to when I was a cat. He says that the only person who ever gets to see me this helpless, this vulnerable, is him. My heart pounds, because I feel the same. I want to be the only one who gets to hold his true heart. I want to be the only one in his arms. His face leans closer, closer. And then he kisses me. Soft, warm, gentle. His lips press against mine like a promise. My first kiss. Shared under the stars with the man who once held me as a cat, and now holds my heart. The days leading up to our wedding pass in a blur of excitement and preparation. Timo and the rest of the staff are constantly busy, decorating, organizing, arranging everything to perfection. Meanwhile, Elphias is summoned by his commander, Princess Amelia. She commends him for his swift and decisive work uncovering the remnants of dark magic still lingering in the kingdom. She offers him a reward of his choosing. With a respectful bow, Elphias says the greatest gift he could ever receive is to share a dinner with her. To his surprise, Princess Amelia agrees. After 10 years of being turned down, Elphias can hardly believe it. But the softness in her gaze tells him the truth. Her heart is slowly opening to him at last. When he returns to Duke Mark's estate, everyone stares at him in shock. His face is bruised and swollen. Timo and the others panic. But Elphias casually explains that each bruise is a parting gift from the women he's been seeing. One for every unfinished chapter before this new one begins. With pride in his voice, he declares it was all worth it for the chance to dine with the woman he's waited for over a decade. As for me, I spend the afternoon sharing tea with my beloved aunt at my favorite tea house. We talk about how the porcelain cups from Duke Mark's workshop have become wildly popular. People are scrambling to get their hands on them. I smile and tell her how grateful I am for her, and for Inez too. They've always listened to me, believed in me. They've become more than family. They are like a mother and sister to me. Both of them tear up at my words, and they pull me into a warm, loving embrace. Meanwhile, somewhere far away in the silence of a cold cell, Emily receives a gift. It's a tea set. From me, made at Duke Mark's workshop. She stares at it for a long time, the quiet weighing heavily on her. And for the first time, she reflects. She remembers a moment long ago when I reached out to her, asking her to play with me. She wonders, what would have happened if she had taken my hand that day? Maybe things would have turned out differently. Regret settles in, but it's too late. Then comes the day, our wedding. I stand ready, dressed in white, a bouquet trembling gently in my hands. The doors open, and I walk down the aisle. Father is crying. He smiles through his tears as he gives me away, placing my hand in Duke Mark's. We exchange vows. The world fades until there's only us. He won't stop praising me, even after everything's been said. And when I still call him Duke Mark, he leans in and whispers into my ear, asking how long I plan to keep calling him that. I blush deeply. He lifts me into his arms with ease. I whisper his name, Leonhart. And the joy on his face, it's radiant, pure. He looks into my eyes and promises to make me happy for the rest of our lives. Everyone cheers. Timo, Father, Auntie, Inez, Princess Amelia, Elphias. Their applause echoes in the garden chapel, filled with love and golden light. Their joy mirrors ours. Still holding me in his arms, Leonhart seals our vows with the softest, sweetest kiss. The kind that melts every fear. The kind that feels like forever. And I know deep in my heart, this is only the beginning of many romantic stories waiting for us ahead. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it brings warmth to your heart and reminds you that no matter what form love takes, it's always worth fighting for. May you find happiness, too, with someone who sees you, truly, and never lets go. Never stop believing. And never stop loving. Until we meet again in the next story,